This is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
We're back with one of your favorite regular episodes, and that is our listener mailbag episode where we are reading your thoughts, your opinions, your questions, your feedback sent to us. If you want to participate in a future listener mailbag episode, there's two ways you can do it. You can email us, girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com, or you can drop us a voice message. Our phone number is 949-329-8090. We do have a voice message to read this week. We'd love to hear more voice messages from you. So drop us your thoughts on the Chicken Sisters. Those reviews are coming, and I think we might get some mixed reviews. There's not a single Chicken Sister thought in this episode, but I'd like to hear what the people are thinking.
I think the people are thinking the same thing I am.
Also, coming up on Hallmark, we have The Groomsmen. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. And
yeah,
rapid fire barrage of Countdown to Christmas news that we are getting ahead of the official announcement.
I did see in our Facebook group, somebody was upset that September was it is 3 weeks of the Groomsmen movies.
Yeah.
And I think this person is maybe only upset because they had Hallmark Plus and
Sure.
one have already seen these movies when they premiered last fall. So for them, it's like, 3 weeks of no new movies. But I think there's a whole lot of people who haven't seen these movies. So yay for them. I remember those being very enjoyable.
We're glad that they're making it their way to Hallmark Channel. I understand both sides, right? Like, you're like, I paid for both of these services and now it's not really working out the way that it was promised. I was saying to someone earlier today, Hallmark Plus now is what I think Hallmark Plus should have always been, a dupe for the Hallmark Channel. Trying to make them two separate products never really made sense.
Yeah, but you could see what they were trying to do though, right?
Yeah, you could see what they were trying to do and it didn't work out. So they had to recoup all that money, post these movies and these series on the main channel, and course correct.
Yeah, but this has got to be the it. Except for Finding Mr. Christmas is the only other series, I think, like series of movies or new movies that went directly to Hallmark Plus. I think that's the only other project that remains not have aired on Hallmark Channel yet.
Except for some of the reality series, right? Like Ashley Williams' reality series was only on Hallmark Plus. Luke McFarlane's reality series, Wes Brown's reality series. I don't know if those will ever see the light of day on Hallmark. They might. I mean, I could see Wes Brown's coming out on Hallmark because during the holiday season.
And it was short.
Yeah, there's only 3 episodes. It's filler. This isn't a Hallmark Headlines episode, but I'm very curious what the Countdown to Christmas season is going to look like.
Oh, we already talked about it, you and I, off mic, with our predictions.
Yeah.
I don't want to say them publicly yet because
I'll probably be wrong.
I tend to be wrong. Yeah, so I don't want anybody pick up and run with that when I, declare that I think they're going to have less than 40 movies. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, let's jump into these emails.
Okay. Our first email is from Mary Ann. This email includes some feedback on our Mystery 101, but this is what we wanted to read from her email because we both got a good laugh at it, I think. She writes, she was curious about the origin of our podcast name and says, and then finally, I'm curious why you decided to go with the name for your podcast, Girls Gone Hallmark. The name is reminiscent of a show called Girls Gone Wild. And wasn't that show about women getting paid to take off their shirts and show their bodies, etc.? I never watched the show, but it kind of seemed objectifying to women and degrading. Every time I saw clips or commercials for that show back in the day, it made me want to barf. There's this one other org that's done a riff off, and the title is called Girls Gone Bible. That's a podcast, right? Girls Gone Bible. Mm-hmm. Again, a strange choice given the show's content, but maybe there's something I don't know about the show. I'm very curious why you chose the name.
Well, all credit goes to Wendy on that one.
Ugh. Put it on me, huh?
Well, I'm fairly certain you named Girls Gone Hallmark.
Girls Gone Disney
Came
walked,
after.
so Girls Gone Hallmark could run. Yeah, it's a riff off of Girls Gone Wild. I mean, not like consciously, though. I just think it's a funny, tongue-in-cheek, funny name. That's all.
I agree. It was just meant to be fun. I just looked it up. There was a expose, Girls Gone Wild, The Untold Story. It was on Peacock. I haven't looked now to see if it still is. I assume it is. But Girls Gone Wild existed for 15 years.
Yeah, I think you should explain what Girls Gone Wild. I don't even know, actually. I just remember the infomercials for it.
Think spring break videos, girls flashing guys from their speedboats at Lake Havasu.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
I think they were like videos and DVDs that you could order, basically, in the age of...
Creepy dudes ordering, like, yeah, that's gross.
Yes. The series did go bankrupt in 2013. So yeah, it's not meant to be related.
No, by any means.
We just thought it was a fun name.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Next up, we have an email from Lance. Lance says what I think many of you think. He says, I'm assuming I'm not the only one that while listening to a Mailbag episode thinks of several things I want to send in as an email, but never actually do it when I get to the computer. I'm usually listening while walking the dogs, and he attaches a picture of Cher and George, his pups. He says, I want to share how much I can relate to the idea of wrestling with the issue of celebrities, including Hallmark stars, being people outside of their fictional characters who I may or may not actually like. Often I discover shows because I know I like something about a specific celebrity already, so I want to see the new thing they are in. Other times I'm hesitant to watch something I know I would probably like because I'm troubled by actions that celebrity has made and been very public about. You've often talked about Jill Wagner, and I wanted to share a story about her and a connection to Holland Roden. He goes on to say, I completely empathize with the quandary of her and Gak. I don't watch anything on there either and have been comfortable boycotting Candace and Danica. My story about Jill, though, is her connection to Holland Roden, the rising superstar of Hallmark, starring in the upcoming Bills football movie. They were both on a teenage werewolf series I really liked. He comments, I have the TV viewing habits of an adolescent female. Holland had a rewatch podcast about the show a few years ago that I really liked, and her episode with Jill could be worth you listening to. They did talk about Hallmark a little, but much of it was about the in-development show Lioness. I did not know if you knew that show was created by Jill and her husband, based on his experiences in the military. It certainly gives a different view of her as a person to hear her tell that story. He leaves a link to that podcast, which we can share in our show notes. I think that is a line that I'm not perfect about walking. When I find out a music artist or someone in movies I like or TV shows or the creator of this or that behaves in a way that I don't like. And it's, for me, sometimes it's hard to figure out where the line is. A lot of people have reached out about Jill Wagner especially and have suggested that maybe her being on Great American Family doesn't fully align with who she is as a person, which I hope is true. What are your thoughts?
It's a hard line to toe because there are certain... Let me just be frank about Jill Wagner. Yes, going into reviewing Mystery 101, I was like, I'm not really looking forward to this because of some things she has been outspoken about. Then I watched Mystery 101 and I'm like, I really enjoy her as an actor. Like, she's really good. And now I'm having a harder time trying to deal with those feelings. Like, and honestly, like, there are bigger things in the world or even in just my life I should be worried about more than worrying about consuming entertainment from somebody who does not lean the same way I do. I don't know.
But that is a slippery slope, right? Then it's like the Michael Jackson of it all, right?
Yes, yes. That's a great example.
You know, so, which is a very different thing from what we're dealing with the actors that work with this other network. But it's, you know, at some point you got to draw the line.
And part of me kind of wants to go back to a world where I didn't know these details, you know?
Yes. Great point. On the one hand, like, ignorance is bliss. On the other hand, and not speaking about Jill, but if someone's a hateful person behind the scenes, I don't want to accidentally support that. It's not a perfect system.
No, it's not. Paula writes in, "Hi, it's been a while. You may wish it's been a while longer after this email," which that gives me a good chuckle. Paula, I welcome Paula's emails anytime.
Totally.
Right? I mean, Paula even made our It Was Always You live podcast.
Indeed.
discussion.
There's an email about that later in this episode.
Oh, even great. She writes, "I don't understand the appeal of Providence Falls. It's mostly a typical mystery movie, and I'm not a big fan of those, so I won't talk about that. As to the romance, why pick sides? It seems so obvious that Liam will become the good person that she needs to be for Cora to do her second chances thing. My biggest problem is the idea of predestination. The whole setup of overturning lives for Cora to do her good works just doesn't make sense. Why Cora? I'm hoping that free will wins out, that this is some sort of mix-up." Our episode of Providence Falls, the last movie, came out yesterday. While I didn't think it was perfect, still super enjoyable for me. I know you liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. I wish Paula would give it another chance, because a second chance, if you will. It's just one of those Hallmark projects that is different, and I think you just gotta go with it.
I said it yesterday, you can go listen. The acting is on a higher level, the production value is on a higher level. If perhaps the story with the angels, I had issues with the predestination of it too. I spent 2 whole episodes talking about the idea of destiny and did they really understand what that meant, or did I not understand what that meant? But I think, to me, it is a high quality project. Whether or not you're into the story, I think that's worth acknowledging. But as I said, the story's not for everyone, but I do think it's well done.
I think so too.
Watch for Katie Stevens and Evan Roderick and Maddie Finocchio. I mean, watch for these guys.
Yeah. Before we move on, Paula was at our Facebook group and we had a conversation about the actress Jen Lilly. And I don't remember totally the context or what my response was. It was just I don't miss her on Hallmark. And Paula wanted to know why.
I think there was a conversation about her returning.
Oh, to Hallmark?
Yeah.
And I was yeah. And was my disappointment just
evident?
That? Yeah. She wants to know why I have an anti-Jen Lilly stance. And all I can say is rewind about 2 minutes and listen to our Jill Wagner.
Indeed.
But that's all I'm going to say about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is a nothing burger, but I think you can read between the lines.
Yeah, that's where it comes from, I think. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have a voicemail from Michelle regarding Providence Falls. Let's give it a listen.
Hey, okay, I wanted to give you my thoughts on Providence Falls. I was not thrilled with the first one. I gave the second one a chance, and I'm still mixed. It just has not grabbed me like other Hallmark series have. And after listening to your review this morning, I have to kind of agree with Wendy on it's the timing, it's the pacing, it's slow. And yes, Megan, the last 20 minutes of the second episode was so grabbing. And I'm like, okay, that will make me watch the third one because now I want to see what happens. I do also tend to think, and I think it was part of what hindered me from falling in love with it, the angel/heaven scenes are just too, I'm going to say it, they're too cheesy. If it would have been done maybe a little differently, I don't know. That part is what's throwing me. The fate, destiny, flashbacks are fine. I get how they've been given a second chance and want to see what, happens. But those scenes where we go to the angels, that's where it loses me. So hopefully the third episode will pull it all together. But unfortunately, I do not have high hopes.
Yikes.
Yikes, indeed. We do have a message in Instagram from Michelle about the third episode and says, still not sure about Providence Falls, but Gabriel has my vote. So at least she was Team Brendan Penny.
She's not wrong. It's kind of slow.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah, I really liked it, as evidenced by 3 episodes about it. I thought the books were a little slow, too. I just think it's that kind of sweeping storytelling a little bit. Real contrast from, Chicken Sisters style storytelling.
Well, I have 2 thoughts. One is we live in such a world where everything has to come at us fast and furious, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have no attention span for anything.
Indeed.
And the second thing is Michelle, like us, also grew up on Gilmore Girls. And so I think we are just used to a pace that is like, let's just get to the point, right? I think those are contributing factors. But also, I want to talk about Michelle's thoughts on the cheese of it all with the angels and stuff. I do think she nails it there, but I think you, Megan, made a really good point in yesterday's Providence Falls episode about how do you do that with that? You know, there's things we have to work with here. Maybe it wasn't executed perfectly, but it didn't ruin the series for me.
I liked the heaven scenes. I didn't love like when they would appear. I thought that was where they lost me, but yeah, I don't have the answer for how you make that more believable or there's an element of they are angels. It needs to be a little bit otherworldly. And you either like that sort of thing or you don't. I don't know what the answer is there. But we do have another email about Providence Falls. Diane writes in, I'm a first-time write-in, but I've been enjoying your podcast for a few years. And I've always thought about writing in and finally worked up the courage. Y'all, don't be afraid of us.
Not at all, please.
She says, first off, when you were talking about the low ratings for Providence Falls, I can't help but wonder if the promos are to blame. I think ding, ding, ding on that one. Hallmark promos for new movies have been rough for a couple of years now. I used to be able to tell from a promo whether a movie would be good or just so-so, but not anymore. The promos seem to undersell some good movies. That's one reason I love your podcast. Our tastes are similar, and I trust your reviews. Back to my point. The commercial for the first Providence Falls movie wasn't great. I thought it was a period piece and wasn't excited for yet another month of the 1800s, even though I'm Team Tomcat. But I gave the movie a chance after the second promo featured that swoon-worthy line about Liam loving Cora between lifetimes. Hallmark might have leaned too heavily into the past in the promo, or maybe it was just another miss from the marketing team. That said, I'm loving the Providence Falls movies. They give me the Way Home vibes, which makes me so happy. I'm going to pause there. In terms of production value, I agree. What are your thoughts?
In terms of production value, yeah, we're talking quality of The Way Home.
Yeah.
It's on par. Yeah.
I think the storytelling in The Way Home is stronger than Providence Falls. However, Providence Falls is based on existing content. And so there was, some limitations there in order to tell that story. Diane goes on to say, another Providence Falls thought, I'm wondering if Cora's dad is up to something. We've already solved this mystery since we've reviewed the third episode, but she says it felt odd that he wanted her off the case, and that scene in the coffee shop with him and the retired detective seemed awkward and suspicious.
I'm telling you, they did that on purpose.
Totally. You know what's funny? We didn't talk about this, but I didn't watch Providence Falls as a mystery. I know it is a mystery. I'm well aware we were trying to solve a crime. At no point did it occur to me to think about the characters that we saw on screen, that one of them had to be involved.
Yeah.
When you were like, it's got to be Boyd, I'm like, that's funny. It didn't even occur to me that it could be someone that we've already met. I don't know.
Because when we watch mystery movies, we're like, we're dialed in and we're trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah. Because we know they've introduced the bad guy to us in some way.
Right. So I wonder if that's like a viewer issue too. Like, what are we watching? Is it a romance? Is it a mystery? Is it a period piece? I don't know what we are working with here. Maybe that is a marketing issue for Hallmark. Maybe they didn't sell it in the right way.
I read book 1. I read part of book 2. I'm interested in finishing them, but I do find the books to be a little bit slow, so they're not like the first thing I reach for. I'm just curious the differences overall once in the series and the books. My point is, in reading the synopsis of the movies before they came out and reading the synopsis of the books, I still was not 100% sure what I was getting myself into. They talked about like chasing each other through lifetimes, and we were like, oh, this is a time travel movie. And it was not a time travel movie at all. So I totally agree that people did not know what to expect with these movies. Diane closes by saying, I just wanted to say I love the podcast, the Hallmark News, and the Mailbag episodes. Keep up the hustle, ladies. Diane, thank you for your email. We appreciate you.
Yeah, totally. So Paula wrote us an email after listening to our live podcast recording of It Was Always You from Bramblefest earlier this summer. She writes, great job on the podcast. It was great hearing you live. Thank you for the mention too. I've been wondering about being too critical lately, although I guess it's not just lately. One last thing about George is that he left the island when he didn't need to, and she, Lizzie, was very explicit about not wanting him to go. Great job once again. So she's basically just saying that George is at fault too, right?
Yeah, that was Paula's take all along. Paula had been one of the drivers of the train of wanting us to re-look at It Was Always You, and was very much like, pay closer attention to George. Like, he is not deserving of any pity. He's equally at fault here. Paula is not Team George, for sure.
Yeah.
One final bit of Providence Falls thoughts comes from Francisco, who says, I'm enjoying Providence Falls. On the first episode, I did like how Liam was confused by cars and cell phones. Francisco, I hated that. He said it's funny, and Egon is nice as comic relief. Hey, I want to interrupt Francisco here. I heard Deck the Hallmark say Aegon. Francisco wrote Egon, so Aegon should have been played by, any guesses?
Erica Tufley?
Indeed, and I have to say,
absolutely.
I totally agree with that take. Francisco says, I do agree with Wendy pertaining to the first movie. The flashbacks were pretty dark. Is the story there that interesting? It's okay. I buy Liam and Cora's relationship there, but I'm not exactly rooting for them in the present. Francisco. Per the flashbacks shown between the movies, I liked how movie 2 did it. He says, I like how the second movie explored Finn, and we're not just being overly bombarded with how Liam is the one, blah, blah. On that same note, I'm glad the guys are totally cool with losing out to each other on this one. It was the total antithesis of how The Way Home treated it.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I actually really loved Finn and Liam's relationship and banter with each other. I would love to watch a show about them.
A buddy comedy with Finn and Liam.
Yep.
Yeah, that is really
Yep.
interesting. They were both pretty quick to acknowledge that we were dealing with two good guys here, and there was no wrong choice in terms of the way Cora would ultimately be treated. So,
Well, and Finn even said in movie 3, he's like, we have a good relationship, but it's obvious those two have something else. So like he took the L, like he saw it.
and he had Suzette waiting in the wing. So
Don't even get me started, but yes.
if you want our full thoughts on that, please go back to yesterday's episode of Providence Falls 3, Thief of Fate. That's a wrap on this listener mailbag episode. We'd love to hear more thoughts, opinions, and questions from you. Email us girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com. And we'll be back next week with more Hallmark reviews. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.